Breaking news, Steelers Nation, we've got a major update coming out of Pittsburgh that could shake up the entire defense. The Steelers have officially signed veteran linebacker Jelani Bentley to the roster, and this move could not have come at a better time. Through the first 2 weeks of the season, run defense has been a real concern, and adding a player with Bentley's toughness and experience feels like a huge step in the right direction. Once he gets into rhythm with this unit, he has the potential to become a key piece of the Steelers' defensive identity. But before we dive deeper into this breaking story and what it means for the black and gold, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the latest Steelers news. Let's move on to the new updates. Bentley, a seasoned veteran who spent most of his career with the New England Patriots, is well known across the league as one of the hardest-hitting linebackers in football. Last year, his season was cut short after suffering a torn pectoral muscle in Week 2. That injury kept him sidelined for the remainder of 2024. When the Patriots entered the offseason with a new regime led by Mike Vrabel, Bentley was let go despite his proven track record. And now, Pittsburgh has swooped in to bring his experience and grit to a defense that desperately needs more consistency against the run. Reports say Bentley completed his physical today, and everything checked out. If that pectoral injury is truly behind him, the Steelers might have just landed a game-changing presence right in the heart of their defense. The biggest reason this signing feels so important is because the Steelers have been missing a true enforcer in the middle of their defense. Over the past 2 weeks, it's been painfully clear that there's a gap where that old-school thumper should be. When Landon Roberts was healthy, he wasn't flashy in coverage, but he was a nightmare for opposing running backs. He had the size, the instincts, and the controlled aggression that forced runners backward instead of letting them fall forward. At 250 pounds, Roberts anchored the early downs, and his presence made the defense tougher and more disciplined against the ground game. Without that type of force, Pittsburgh's run defense has looked vulnerable. Keanu Benton is developing into a steady piece on the line, but he isn't the kind of nose tackle who can completely control the trenches on his own. That puts more pressure on the linebackers to step up, and so far, it hasn't been enough. Patrick Queen, while extremely athletic, is undersized. Peyton Wilson has added some muscle, but on film he still gets pushed off balance too often and takes poor pursuit angles. In Week 1, both of them were caught out of position, and in Week 2, while Queen improved with some impressive plays, Wilson continued to struggle. Too often, he was driven backward or late to the gap, which allowed chunk runs that broke the defense's rhythm. And here's the reality. If the Steelers can't stop the run, their greatest strength, the pass rush, will never reach its full potential. You can't unleash T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith on long third downs if teams are pounding the ball successfully on early downs. Right now, opponents are dictating the game with explosive runs, and that's why a player like Bentley could be the missing piece Pittsburgh has been desperate for. Through just 2 weeks of football, the numbers tell a painful story. The Steelers' defense has been gashed for explosive runs more than any other team in the league. Something had to give. And when the name Jelani Bentley surfaced as a free agent visit, it felt like the obvious answer. Honestly, it was surprising he was even still on the market. Bentley mirrors a lot of what Pittsburgh once had with Landon Roberts. 250 pounds of disciplined aggression, sharp instincts, and the ability to punish runners before they hit the second level. Looking back, there's no question the Steelers should have re-signed Roberts, especially given how little it cost the Raiders to grab him. Instead, they rolled the dice on Malik Harrison's upside and hoped Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson could grow into every-down players. 2 weeks in, that experiment already looks shaky. The blueprint that worked last season was clear. Queen as the steady, every-down presence, Roberts as the early-down hammer, and Wilson sliding in on passing situations where his athleticism and coverage skills could shine. It was balanced, it was effective, and it kept the defense from breaking down against the run. Right now, without that thumper, Wilson has been exposed. Poor pursuit angles, bad positioning, and not enough strength to win in the trenches. That's why bringing Bentley in makes sense. Yes, he's older and coming off a serious injury, and there's always the risk that he may not return to form. But even if he isn't the long-term answer, his presence reshapes the linebacker rotation into something stable again. With Queen locked into the every-down role, Bentley handling the early-down dirty work, and Wilson returning to a passing-down specialist, the Steelers would essentially recreate a proven formula. Add in Cole Holcomb, who provides experience and leadership depth once he's fully healthy, and Malik Harrison, who offers value on special teams and rotational snaps, and suddenly this linebacker room doesn't look thin anymore. In fact, It starts to feel like a group with versatility, toughness, and the kind of balance this defense has been missing. The beauty of this move is how it reshapes the rotation. On early downs, Bentley brings the physicality to control the run game. When the offense shifts into obvious passing situations, second and long, third and medium, third and long, that's when Peyton Wilson can step in and let his speed and athleticism take over. It's a smarter distribution of roles, one that plays to the strengths of each linebacker instead of forcing them into situations where they struggle. This balance also brings two major advantages: fresher legs as the season grinds on, and a defense that's better prepared to handle injuries. That's where Cole Holcomb becomes a hidden gem. He's not elite in one specific area, but he's solid against both the run and the pass. If an injury hits Queen or Wilson, Holcomb is versatile enough to slide into almost any role and keep the unit stable. Depth matters, and the Steelers have quietly built it. Malik Harrison, once he's back healthy, adds another layer of reliability as a strong special teamer and a depth linebacker. That kind of roster construction gives this defense flexibility, something they didn't have through the first 2 weeks. And Bentley isn't just a one-dimensional hammer. Compared to Roberts, he may not hit quite as hard against the run, but he brings more balance when teams test him through the air, especially off-play action. That versatility makes him a better fit for today's NFL, where offenses constantly disguise the run and pass on early downs. What makes this even more exciting is that Bentley isn't the only addition. The Steelers also recently signed safety Jabril Peppers, his former teammate in New England. With Deshaun Elliott still sidelined, Peppers is expected to see action as early as Week 3, not just on special teams, but as a dynamic piece on defense. His ability to rotate between strong safety and hybrid roles gives the coaching staff another weapon to mix and match. When you look at both moves together, Bentley in the middle and Peppers in the secondary, this defense suddenly feels more complete. Pittsburgh didn't just patch a hole. They've added toughness, versatility, and depth across multiple levels of the field. What makes these moves stand out is not just the talent added, but the experience. Both Bentley and Peppers have years of proven production in the league, and that means the Steelers don't have to worry about teaching them how to prepare or how to handle game situations. They know exactly what to do, and that steadiness is something this defense has been craving. But it doesn't stop with the defense. The Steelers also made a smart addition on the offensive side by bringing in wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins. Some fans rolled their eyes at the move, another depth wideout. But the reality is different. At this stage of the season, you're not finding a polished number 2 receiver in free agency. What you can do is find a player who fills specific gaps in your roster. Hodgins does exactly that. This receiving core has speed, it has deep threats, but what it lacked was size, reliability, and strong route running in the short to intermediate game. That's where Hodgins comes in. He's not a burner, but he's tough, dependable, and versatile. He can line up outside as an X, slide into the slot, and win with precise routes and steady hands. He's also a willing blocker, which gives the Steelers more flexibility when they want to run condensed formations or lean on the ground game. Think of him as a steady possession receiver, someone who can keep drives alive by making contested catches and working the middle of the field. In a group loaded with vertical speed, Hodgins adds a different flavor, consistency. And that's exactly the type of piece that can become more valuable as the season wears on. Together, these signings don't just patch holes. They make the roster deeper, more balanced, and more adaptable. The Steelers are quietly building a lineup that can withstand injuries, adjust on the fly, and compete in multiple ways. And that should have fans feeling a lot more confident heading into Week 3. What truly sets these additions apart is how they change the overall identity of the roster. Bentley and Peppers don't just bring skill. They bring stability, toughness, and veteran leadership. That kind of presence filters through the entire locker room, giving younger players confidence and setting the standard for how to prepare week after week. And with Hodgins added to the mix, the offense gains something it didn't have before: a reliable chain mover who can win in the short game, block with authority, and step into multiple roles without missing a beat. He doesn't need to be a star to make an impact. He just needs to be consistent, and that consistency could prove invaluable as the season unfolds. Taken together, these signings send a clear message. The Steelers aren't just reacting to problems. They're actively shaping a roster build for the grind of a long season. Instead of patchwork solutions, they're creating depth, balance, and options at key positions. As Week 3 approaches, the outlook feels different. With new leadership in the middle of the defense, a versatile safety ready to contribute, and a receiver who adds reliability to the passing game, Pittsburgh suddenly looks more complete. These aren't just roster moves, they're potential turning points.